The Norwich Sea Unicorns are the 2024 Futures League champions. Welcome to the Back to the Futures Championship Special. My name is Owen Shadrick. I am joined, as always, by Matt Ferreira. And before we get into anything Futures League related, Matt, how you doing?
I mean, sad to see Futures League ball go, but happy that we saw a great championship. Congrats to the Norwich Sea Unicorns and a couple of great games played.
Just an incredible two-game series between the Norwich Sea Unicorns and the Westfield Starfires. Although Matt and I's predictions for the winner didn't come true, the game itself was our prediction. And we'll start in game one, which took place Saturday, August 10th. And it was an intense one. The Starfires took an early lead. Norwich grabbed it back. The Starfires tied the game, and then Norwich used their bats to propel them in innings 7 and 8 to win game 3 5-3. And in game 4, it was a doozy. Westfield takes a 1-0 lead early in the first inning, but the Sea Unicorns come right back with 3 runs of their own. In the 6th inning, the Westfield Starfires grab 3 runs to make it a 4-3 Starfire lead, but Bo Yaworski had other plans in the 8th. He ties the game on an RBI double, and then one of the greatest hits in Futures League history, Nick Tomasetto has an RBI double to win the Futures League championship for the Norwich Unicorns 5-4. Matt, just an incredible 2 days of baseball that ended in a victory for the Norwich Unicorns for the second year in a row.
Yeah, and for some standout guys for Norwich, we saw great numbers out of the bullpen. Mike Poncini had 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts. And David Rodriguez had 2.2 innings pitched with only 1 hit, 1 run, and also 4 strikeouts. But like you said, Norwich eventually climbed back in both games, and that could not have been done without AJ Soldra, who had 4 RBIs in the series.
Yeah, all those guys played exceptional. On this championship episode, we have 5 players, coaches, and Norwich Unicorn personnel ready for you. It starts with the general manager of the Norwich Unicorns, Lee Walter Jr. Here he is. We're honored to bring another guest here onto our 2024 Futures League Championship special. He's the general manager of the Norwich Unicorns. It's Lee Walter Jr. Lee, how you doing today?
Doing well, Owen. Obviously very tired, but feeling really good about winning this thing again, and happy to talk to you.
Yeah, you said winning it again. You guys are back-to-back Futures League champions. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to the franchise?
Well, I mean, forget about me because this isn't about me, but for the franchise, this is just unbelievable. We've been in the league 4 full years now. Obviously, the first year was really tough because we joined so late, and things didn't go so well that first year. The second year, definitely a better year. Had a chance to make it right at the end, and lost out to, coincidentally, Westfield on that last playoff spot that second year. And so to now have won back-to-back titles, and 2 out of 4 years we're in the league, we're champs. And it's huge for the organization. We didn't know where we were going to be for quite a while after COVID and the loss of affiliation, and I think we've landed in a great spot, and we've proven that we belong.
Yeah, and I wanted to follow up on that. Obviously, we can talk about this from a player's perspective, from a coach's perspective, but from a front office perspective, what do the back-to-back titles mean to you, especially with the, let's just say, interesting start to your Futures League tenure, the Sea Unicorns Futures League tenure, that is?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, right? I mean, one of the things that working in sports people don't really understand is that winning is great, but you can't rely on winning when you're trying to sell your product, market your product. And, so being able to add the winning aspect to it at this point is huge. I mean, we had a great, granted, we didn't charge for tickets yesterday, but we had a great crowd yesterday. And I think we could have charged for whatever we wanted to. And, nearly 2,000 people would have showed up yesterday. And so winning definitely is a helpful marketing tool, and makes our job in the front office a lot easier for sure.
And we've talked a few times on this podcast together, and your one of your main messages is that you leave the team to the coaches. But I do want to ask if there's anything you saw in this team compared to last year's team, obviously both ending up being champions.
Yeah, so I actually mentioned this to a few of the guys that I was talking to yesterday, and first off, it starts at the top with the coaches, and Kevin Murphy obviously does a great job getting that roster together, and then being a great leader out on the field. And as far as the talent on the field, though, I think that this year's team maybe had a little more individual talent than last year's. Last year's maybe was a touch more gritty and just kind of refused to lose. There were certainly other differences in the way the teams played. But that being said, these both of these teams just they wanted it so bad. And it's not that the other teams in the league don't want it, but we all see it after the All-Star game. Guys start to leave because they're tired, they want to go home, they want to rest up for their college season. And while we lost some guys, we didn't lose maybe as much of the impact as some of the other teams did. And it really has a lot to do with the fact that these guys wanted to win this thing. And they wanted to be part of back-to-back champs, even though it was mostly a different roster. And yeah, I think that's a big testament to the coaching staff and being able to keep those guys around too.
Yeah, and you talk about that testament to the coaching staff. What do you think Kevin Murphy's role is in keeping these guys around? Because you said it, there's so much turnover during the season in the Futures League with guys having to go back to school, but it seems like Kevin Murphy is one of those coaches that always wants, or the players always want to play for him and stick around.
Yeah, he's got that it factor. We all talk about that in different walks of life. People just have certain aspects to themselves that, maybe they're good motivators or maybe, this, that. I think with Kevin, first and foremost, he's built a really good relationship with a lot of college coaches throughout the region. And they help find guys that maybe they haven't necessarily played a ton of innings at their school yet, so they're hungry, they want more, but they are talented players. I mean, you go back to the 2023 season with Dean Ferreira. Here was a guy who at Fairfield the year before hadn't played much and came in and batted over 400, breaking the league's batting average record, winning the MVP. And then he went back to Fairfield this spring and he broke their single season hits record. And so finding guys like that who can stay and get a ton of at bats or get a good amount of innings pitched, as opposed to having a roster full of guys who maybe can only throw 20 innings because they, threw too much in the spring. The other thing that Kevin's really good at too is if he does have a guy who only has 20 innings, he might only throw them 2 or 3 innings at a time. And when you only throw them once a week, they're there for 6 to 8 weeks of the season, as opposed to some coaches will throw them 4 or 5 innings at a clip and they're only there for 3 or 4 weeks. So I think Kevin does a really good job of finding a way to balance out that roster throughout and just having guys that are ready to go at a moment's notice. And, you know, we'll talk about something that happened yesterday, Bo Yaworski, who was on our roster a couple of years ago and didn't get a lot of playing time and was brought back this year. And late in the year, he wasn't getting as much playing time as maybe he thought he should. And then I love the competitiveness, but not everybody can play every day. And he wasn't in the starting lineup over the playoffs, but he came in yesterday as a defensive replacement and came up with a clutch hit to tie the game late. And if he's not mentally prepared for that, that doesn't happen. So that's another testament to Murph and the coaching staff with making sure that guys are ready even when they are not in the lineup every day as much as they want to be.
Yeah, that's a fantastic example, and what a hit that was because it set the stage for the ninth inning walk off. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen that before, by the way? A ninth inning walk off to win a championship?
I mean, not in my personal life, I haven't. I mean, we all remember Joe Carter winning the World Series for the Blue Jays. I mean, you're a little young for that, but those kind of things can happen, but they don't happen often. And to have it happen yesterday the way it did, first two batters make outs. AJ Soldra's hit by a pitch barely on the shoulder, and to score from first on that play just shows you how fast AJ is. I know the ball rattled around a little bit in right field, but I am pretty sure that even if the right fielder was able to pick that ball up cleanly, AJ's at least being sent home and they're going to have to make a play on him. And you never know what happens in that situation. So it was definitely quite the ending. And, obviously, fortunately for us, it went our way.
It was quite the ending indeed. And I want to ask one more question here before we sign off. We saw this very evident at the All-Star game, and that's the behind the scenes that everybody does from you all the way down to the intern that's selling tickets. what about the behind the scenes effort, and what have you seen from everyone that makes Norwich and the Sea Unicorns presentation so great?
Well, we work hard at it, and I'm sure every other team has similar setups, but I'm off this week to mentally recover from this season. But once we get back to the office, and we'll probably wait till September to start it. But I mean, I've already had ideas for what the 2025 season is going to look like. It'll be our fifth season in the league, so we'll probably do a little bit of a celebration based on that, similar to the way we did 30 seasons of Dodd Stadium this year. And it's just all about finding those new marketing ideas that are going to help keep driving the fans out to Dodd. And we've got a great staff. My assistant general manager, Heather Bartlett's been around the stadium for really its entirety, starting as a 16-year-old in concessions and working her way up to where she is now. And our entire staff, just they care so much, and that's what has to happen, because working in sports is not all glitz and glamour like people think it's going to be. And everybody's bought in, and they want to work hard. They want to put on a good show, and that's what we strive to do. And I feel like we do a pretty good job. And I know a lot of people around the league have recognized that, and certainly our fans have recognized that. And the biggest thrill that I get out of all of this isn't any personal accolades or anything. It's more about when the fans or when the people around the league come up to you and say, what a great job you guys do, and it's just awesome to be here, and that just makes me feel really good.
Yeah, when everybody buys in, the product is unbelievable. And from the front office to the coaches to the players to everybody working for the Sea Unicorns, you all earned it because you're 2024 champions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Owen. Appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I don't think it's ever going to get old to keep winning championships. But one more quick story before we sign off. So,
Always.
yesterday after the game, Joe Palucci, our great commissioner, came over to me and he said, I meant to tell this story when doing the trophy presentation, but he was at opening day when we played the Road Warriors, and we did one final celebration of the 23 championship. And after the teams lined up on the baselines, I came out of the dugout with the trophy and I put it down on home plate and got on the mic and said, I'm planting this here because we're going to keep it right here. And we did. I don't know how, but we did. But I told him I will not do that again next year. It is very hard to do that. And to be able to predict a three-peat, I'm not doing that. So,
Yeah, you predicted this one. That is all that matters. The Sea Unicorns are back-to-back champions, and this man is a big reason why. Lee Walter Jr., thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
thank you, Owen. And great work by you guys all year. And look forward to working with you guys throughout the next year as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Lee Walter Jr. so much for joining us. And yeah, Matt, when we were there from the All-Star game, just a very well-oiled machine, and they put on a show all year for the fans of the Futures League.
Absolutely. Next up, we have the manager of the Norwich Sea Unicorns, Coach Kevin Murphy.
We are honored to welcome on our next guest here on our championship special. He's the coach of the back-to-back champion Norwich Sea Unicorns. Coach Kevin Murphy, first off, how good does it feel to hear back-to-back champions?
It's really cool. Honestly, it's really cool. I don't know which one's better. Honestly, this year I felt like it was a little more tougher to get. This year we weren't as like last year. I felt like that team was just a powerhouse, and this year it took a lot of guys just coming together and being tough. So it was really cool. It's still surreal to me, but.
And then take me through that ninth inning, winning it on a walk-off. I mean, what was that like from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, they asked me this when it was going on, but like obviously Tomasetto's up and he's one of our better guys, and we got speed at first. But I was definitely worried about extras with 2 outs with the guy on first. Like Papetti for Bryant behind the plate has a really good arm. So like all day we've had trouble all year stealing bags on Westfield. Like most of the summer we were able to get a guy because speed was our thing all year. We were able to get a guy in scoring position, but like Papetti early in the game, like first pitch throughout Dosa, who can run really well. So right there, I don't think the steal was the correct move, but we did tell AJ, like if we got into a count where Tomasetto was down in the count, like look for a breaker, run, but Nick went up 2-0 in the count and he got an outside fastball. He did the right thing. And AJ can really run. Even if Hussey fielded that cleanly, like it would have been close at the plate because AJ can really run. So we just kind of got lucky there, but I was definitely preparing for extras with Conti coming in. So
And we'll get to Tomasetto in a minute. I definitely want to ask about that. But you just mentioned Soldra. He was the playoff MVP after he was All-Star Game MVP. He grinds through that at bat, gets on base. What has he brought to the team specifically this season?
where do I begin there? Honestly, I mean, I got him from NJIT early. He's a CT kid. Just brought so much energy, so much locker room presence, like a leader. Like even when things were down, like losing games, like he would be the guy just making jokes and fun. But from a baseball perspective, he's a coach's dream. In my opinion, he should be the MVP of the league. He had 9 triples this year, 9 doubles, like batted in a bunch of runs. His speed is insane. He played a great left field, center field. He had a lot of putouts on bases. He's a pro baseball player, honestly. Like there were some teams that called him midsummer to he had better opportunities and he decided to stay with us. He wanted to win a ring. And honestly, like his leadership he brought all year, like there's just not really a better kid. You can tell he's a gym rat. He's a junkie in the cage, but I can't say enough about Soldier, man. What a great kid.
Yeah, he was the star of the postseason and the All-Star Game and your Norwich Sea Unicorns for sure.
Oh.
And back to the hero of it all, Nick Tomasetto, he was 0 for 3 with a walk before his RBI double. What was your message for him before he stepped in the box?
Yeah, I mean, Dembro went up to him before the inning, was like, "You're gonna win this for us." I'm more on the pitching side of things. Like that's what was great about having Dembro this year is I could kind of lay off the offensive side. But like honestly, Nick's been awesome all year. Like he was a guy that Rutgers sent us, didn't get a ton of time at Rutgers, but he was a guy we put at third most games. He got over 120 at bats. Like, and to see him adjust throughout the summer was awesome. Like early on as ABs, like you throw him a breaker, he'd swing at it. Like he just didn't have a lot of plate discipline. But as the season progressed, like he gets more ABs, more ABs. Like Nick turned himself into a great hitter. And it just showed last AB of the game. So, and he was huge in Vermont versus us. Like we go down 2-1 and Wyatt Cameron's on the mound, who's one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in the league. And he throws him a breaker after throwing him a breaker the pitch before, and he puts one in the gap. Like that's just the adjustments. And that's really cool for like developing guys. Like for my end, like sending guys back to schools like that when better, like that's cool for us.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest things in the Futures League that we look for is guys to go back to school better than they were in May when they started here. So that's a great thing to have. You mentioned Kyle Dombrowski. You also had Luke Broadhurst on the staff, a couple of former Futures Leaguers. What did they bring to the club?
Yeah, and you can't forget about obviously Ryan Hyde and Noah Plant tomorrow. Ryan Hyde was the captain at UConn this year, and Plant is at Keene State with Coach Blood. Plant really wasn't with us the entire summer because like he and I both like were kind of recruiting, but this staff was built going into this summer knowing like Plant and I like work in Division III. We have to recruit. There are things we have to go to. And we kind of shuffled it around a little bit, but I mean, it was a no-brainer bringing Dembro in last year. Like he was really hard to beat. I think his knowledge for the game is awesome. He was great for the kids. And honestly, like being our associate manager, he was fantastic. And it's hard to like say we aren't champions. Like we probably aren't champions without Dembro, what he did this year. He put in a lot of time. At the end of the year, our clubhouse manager, who's a dear family to us, Bruce, he ended up getting sick and he wasn't with us the last 2 weeks. And Dembro took that role up and he took care of everybody's clothes, the laundry, and just a dude that puts the team first. And I can't say enough about him. Obviously, having Luke Broadhurst at first base is kind of scary because he's ginormous. And, you saw how good he is at UConn, but Luke's more of a quiet guy. He says what needs to be said, but helping our hitters with the adjustments all year, like coaching wise, like a guy who says something, you listen, and the players really respected him. But that was awesome. And then Hyde and Plant were great. Like just two guys that are vocal leaders. It was honestly, it was a star-studded future staff this summer. So
Yeah, certainly guys that have made their impact in other ways in the Futures League, paying it forward to the guys that are playing right
absolutely.
now.
Yeah.
And a big thing, I talked to Lee Walter about this as well, is keeping guys engaged all summer, keeping guys around all summer is so rare these days. How do you continue to get these guys to stay here, to be able to fight for a championship and lock in for the whole year?
Well, and I think that's a cool thing you bring up is like it is a real thing in this league. Like you see it every year on every team. And honestly, in my last 2 years, I haven't really like there's a difference between like guys hitting pitch limit counts and like guys leaving. But we had a lot of guys who just hit their pitch count limit and ended up leaving. But guys have fun playing in Norwich. We have a lot of fun. Like it's a bad example, but like we were getting blown out by New Britain and we didn't want to burn any arms and we put a position player on the mound and the team on the bench was acting like we were up 10. But that's summer ball. Like we play so many games and it's different. It's a different culture. We want guys to play loose and we want guys to build relationships that are going to last forever. And honestly, it's hard to like say like it's all us like keeping us there, but we're trying to just build an experience where guys don't want to leave. They want to keep playing. And one thing that we do too is like we do play everyone. We rotate everybody in like it's not equal, but it's fair. Everybody gets at least one start a week. Like, and that's kind of what keeps guys around. Like they're not sitting the entire summer, but we do rotate everyone in. With like, if you look, like Soldra easily could have had 200 at bats this summer, but he didn't because we rotated everybody in. And I think that's what keeps kind of guys around as well, is giving everybody a chance. And that's what creates great teammates too, is like guys who are really good supporting each other. So
Yeah, that's super important to have everybody engaged every week, everybody engaged all the
Oh, yeah.
time, so they're not saying, "Oh, time to go back to school," when their clock is ultimately up.
Yeah.
And one final question for you, something that, we've asked every coach every year since they won the title. When do you think you knew that this team could win it all?
If you asked me that last year, I think I would have said like day one. This team had its ups and downs, and honestly, like it was an interesting team, right? Because you look at our fielding percentage, we're the second worst in the league. You look at our hitting numbers, and we're barely top four. And you're like, what is it with this team? But I did know we did have a legit pitching staff the entire year. Like if you look at our stats, we're ahead of everyone and everything on the pitching side. But I don't know. There was some tough weeks. There were some good weeks, but I think going down to Vermont for game 2 after that brutal loss in game 1, going in front of all those fans, like obviously they do such a great job, but I didn't feel great about going into Burlington, and it's hard enough to win there after a 4-hour ride, but going to Burlington and winning that game, I did think there was no one in the league that was going to win, like beat us. But I don't know, like going into the playoffs, I didn't know. I thought we were equal to everyone. Like Westfield is a great club. Like you got to take your hats off to them. Getty obviously is tough to beat in the playoffs. And obviously I didn't want to see Matt Fincher first round calling pitches in the playoffs, but we did. And that's honestly when I saw, like, honestly, all year it was kind of a race to one. We were like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 the whole year. And I didn't know. I honestly, I didn't know what this team was made of until they took that game in Burlington. So,
Yeah, you guys clinched the 1 seed on the last day of the season. You go up to Vermont for a championship rematch, beat them in game 2, ultimately win in 3, and then you take Westfield to 2 games and win it at home. Just a great, incredible run for back-to-back championships. Coach Kevin Murphy, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. Wish you the best of luck heading back to school.
thanks. I appreciate it, man.
Hold on, we'll get right back to the Futures. But first, we want to share a message from our friends at 78 Sports. Do you have kids playing baseball or softball? We all know that practice time is limited, especially here in New England. Not to mention the cost of lessons and cage time can add up quickly. Save yourself some time and money by giving your kids what they need to work on their game at home. Our friends at 78 Sports can help you put together the perfect at-home training setup. Whether you want to start small with just a tee and hitting net, or are looking for a full cage setup with turf and a pitching machine, they have you covered. The team at 78 Sports has designed and installed hundreds of home and commercial sports training facilities, so let them help you plan the perfect setup for your space. Visit 78 Sports website at 78sports.com. That's SEVENTY, the number 8, sports.com. SEVENTY, the number 8, sports.com. Now back to your regular scheduled programming.
Thank you to Coach Murphy, who has been a great friend of the podcast the last couple years. Lee Walter said it very well. You know, Kevin is the heartbeat of this team. He gets the guys to commit all year and to come back, and it shows as they are now back-to-back champions. Next up, we have a player who was crucial to this playoff run. He had 6 RBIs and was the postseason MVP. It's AJ Soldra.
AJ Soldra, Futures League postseason MVP. How does that sound?
Sounds real good.
You said yesterday you couldn't wait to cherish this moment with your guys, and now you finally get to do so. Tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an amazing feeling. The crowd was great today, and I think even though it got dicey at times, there was no doubt in our minds we were coming away with a W in Game 1.
How does it change now going into the next year? Does the mentality change at all? Or are you guys looking to, maybe win a three-peat?
I don't think the mentality changed at all. Just have fun every day and win a lot of games doing it.
A lot of games, and we know how long these seasons can feel. Yep. How did it all come together, and how did you guys end up winning this championship for the second year in a row?
I think, like I just said, we show up to the field every day and just have so much fun. It's awesome being around this guys. This is an amazing team. Everybody here is great. So I think just the amount of fun we have, you can come home from the stadium, win or lose, and you're going to the next day with a fresh plate. So never got too down on ourselves, and we kept a good, steady rhythm the whole season.
Anything you want to say to the fans who came and watched you play all the time?
Thank you so much, and enjoy it.
Thank you, AJ.
Thank you to AJ. And like you said before the interview, on the Norwich Sea Unicorns ran on AJ, postseason MVP, also All-Star MVP. A great season for him this year. Next up, we have the guy that tied the game in the 8th, Bo Yaworski.
Here with first baseman Bo Yaworski, being on that bench for that final hit to win you guys the Futures League championship. What was it like?
I mean, a walk-off is always an unreal feeling. So, when it hits off the bat and it's going down the line, you kind of have a feeling in your head like, oh my gosh, is this real? And, it's summer ball, but, it still means a lot to us. We're a really close group of guys. So seeing AJ Soldier around third and sliding to home, that was a big deal to me.
Clearly an emotional game, an emotional series, really. How did you guys stay level-headed and end up coming through in the end?
Yeah, so we're a team that likes to stay loose. Our kind of motto is that if we start tightening it up and start putting pressure on ourselves, we're never going to perform, especially in a summer ball setting. We're always putting pressure on ourselves during spring, during school ball. So there's no sense in putting pressure on yourself in summer. So we come out here, play loose, have fun, and that's what we did.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and enjoy the championship.
Before we return to Back to the Futures, we want to share a message from our friends at Zorian Bat Company. Rob Zorian started the company, Zorian Bat Company, in 2003, literally out of the trunk of his gold car in Davie, Florida. Within 2 years, he was selling the wood bat line to the MLB and continues to manufacture the highest grade wood bats for the Little League all the way up to the majors. Rob Zorian, founder and president of Zorian, says, "I started this company in 2003 to service all baseball players in the United States and beyond, and after 19 years, our mission has not changed. We are excited to have the opportunity to work with the Futures League and wish all of the players and coaches a healthy and successful season ahead." For more information about Zorian, visit their website at zorianbats.com. Zorian, America's baseball brand. Now, back to the Futures. Thank you to Bo Yaworski for joining Elliot Petotsky after the game on the field. Bo has been with that team for a couple of years. He has seen both championships. His brother Hunter played for the team as well. The family runs deep there in Norwich, and Bo is a big reason for that. And for a final fit interview here for the championship special, we bring in the hero of the Norwich Sea Unicorns and the 2024 playoffs. He hit the walk-off double to send Norwich to glory once again. It's Nick Tomasetto. We are joined now by the hero of the 2024 Norwich Sea Unicorns. He had a big hit in the bottom of the ninth, which we will certainly get into here in just a second. But first, Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And let's talk about it, man. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. You get up and you hit the RBI double to win the Norwich Sea Unicorns the 2024 title.
Yeah.
What is going through your head as you're rounding the bases?
It was just kind of surreal feeling. I mean, honestly, by the time I was getting to second base, I kind of blacked out. Like seeing AJ score, it was just unbelievable. Seeing all my teammates run from the dugout. It's just something you dream of, being able to come through in a big spot and just felt awesome to do it right there.
Yeah, I mean, talk about what you dream of. That's every child's dream right there. You're in the cages, you're on the field, you're making up fake scenarios. That's the one that everybody goes to, and
Yep.
that's unbelievable. And when Soldra gets hit by the pitch, he gets on first base. What is immediately going through your mind as you're stepping into the box?
Well, I was walking up there and then they changed the pitcher, so I had a little bit more time to think. And it was still just not really changing anything, just keeping my approach the same, trying to pass the bat to the next guy. With a runner on first, you're just there's not much you can do. I just happen to hit it in the perfect spot for him to be able to score. So my approach was simple, just pass the bat along to the next guy, but just happened to fall in the right spot to get the job done.
Yeah, and the game itself was a crazy back and forth. It was
Oh yeah.
Westfield, it was you guys, it was Westfield in the seventh. Yaworski ties it in the eighth, and obviously you win it in the ninth. What did your coaching staff say to you guys to keep you in the game, to keep you guys engaged and locked in?
To be honest, it's kind of just been the same thing all year where we were more like not panicking, not pressing, just staying loose, having fun, because that's what got us there. All summer, we were a super close team and we just had a lot of fun. And that's why we played so good. Everyone was so loose and it just allowed everyone to play their best. There was never any like, oh, we got to score here or something like that. So it's kind of the opposite, just letting us play our game and just happened to work out.
Yeah, and I spoke with Kevin Murphy on this show previously, and he mentioned how great the coaching staff was overall, besides him, from assistants and everybody else. What did it mean to have so many guys who have played in the Futures League before and obviously gone through the whole college game before be by your guys' side to mentor you this whole summer?
Yeah, it was super awesome to have that type of experience on our staff. I mean, every coach showed up every day, giving us their all, wanting to help us become the best players and people we could have been all summer. And it was just a really fun group to be around. They were never like the type of coaching staff to be hard on everybody. They were always encouraging everyone, keeping it fun. And I think that's why we were able to be so good this summer.
And to kind of go general here, what was it like to play for Norwich this year?
It was awesome. I mean, obviously, this is like my first summer away from home, and I was kind of like nervous, going to a new spot, staying with the host family, meeting a whole new team, and it was better than I could have imagined. I'm gonna miss every guy on this team, all my coaches, the fans were unbelievable. It was just a great place to be, and to win a championship on top of all that just adds to it, and it just became a great summer overall.
Yeah, the message for everybody else that I've interviewed is how the grind, how big the grind is going from May
Oh
to
yeah.
August, pretty much nonstop. But it feels pretty good when you ended a championship.
Yeah, made it worth it. Definitely a grind, but to be able to win a championship with all these kids that I became super close with this summer just means a lot.
Yeah, that's great. And one final question here, just for someone like you who you said is new to the Futures League, it's your first year. What are you taking back to school from this summer? What did you learn, whether it's in from the game, outside of the game, that you're going to use when you go back to Rutgers?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely learned a lot about myself as a player this summer. It was a grind, obviously, like we were just talking about. It was 6, 7 days a week showing up in the heat, wood bats, you're tired and you just got to keep grinding. Like, especially when you're struggling, you got to keep a positive mindset and get out of it. And that's going to be huge for me moving forward because it's only going to keep getting tougher and you got to be mentally strong. And then also just to keep enjoying baseball. You never know when it's going to stop. So, because already I'm like missing these kids I just played summer ball with. So just stay present, enjoy every moment, and just keep having fun.
Yeah, it was certainly an unbelievable summer, and it ended with an RBI double by you to win the Norwich Sea Unicorns the 2024 championship. Nick Tomasetto, thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck at school, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Nick, for joining us. I mean, that's what every kid dreams of, Matt.
It is. I mean, to come up in the ninth inning, to not only win the game, but to win the entire championship. It's something that dreams are made of.
Yeah, that dog pile must have been electric. Well, folks, the Norwich Unicorns are your 2024 champions. We got a lot more content coming out of the championship. We have awards for the season. We have our all league teams. All of that will be out in the next few weeks. Back to the Future season will be closing soon, but it's not closing yet. So stay tuned for more episodes of our show. Matt, you got anything else before we sign off?
Yeah, big shout out to the Westfield Starfires. They had a great season. Put up fights in not only the first round, but also the second round. They fought the whole season tooth and nail. So shout out to them. And it's sad that they ended up falling short, but hopefully they'll go win it all next year.
Yeah, thank you to the Westfield Starfires for an incredible year, to Coach Fig, who is a good friend of the podcast, and just an incredible offense that fell just short, but they'll be back. Those pesky Starfires and Bullen's Magic always find a way to avenge themselves. So we'll see what they've got planned for next season. For now, that is all we've got. And this has been another episode in season 9 of Back to the Futures, the official podcast of the Futures League. Again, stay tuned for more content. Also, shout out to Elliot Patotsky for some great interviews post-game. You can find Back to the Futures on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see everybody soon.